On this episode of Star Trek Universe, Effie and I visit a planet where they play video games and kill folks neatly in order to keep their war discreetly. The color crayon and shark fin heads have made death too clean, and we're going to talk all about it in our review of Star Trek 124, A Taste of Armageddon, right after these words from voice-mimicking filters that may or may not sound like William Shatner. Welcome into Star Trek Universe. This is one of our episodes where Effie and I will be watching some Star Trek. I've seen all of the Star Trek. Effie hasn't. I'm David C. Roberson.
I'm Effie, but you heard that name. So,
Yeah.
You should really infer that the other person is then, the other name you've got. So, deal with it.
I don't know what the hell's happening anymore. Already we're off to a fantastic start. I don't know what's happening, which is where I usually wind up.
Fair enough. And I somehow know what I'm doing, but not what I've watched. So, this makes sense. Makes sense. This is the format.
Memory Alpha synopsis. On a diplomatic mission, the crew visit a planet that is waging a destructive war fought solely by computer simulation. But the casualties, including the crew of the USS Enterprise, are supposed to be real. What?
I'm not sure how that helps, but okay.
Yeah. What do you
Property
think about
damage is much worse than destroying half your population.
Well, hold on. Now, to be fair, very, very attractive young Barbara Babcock said, "We're preserving our culture and our history."
Right, and the culture. Yeah, okay. The culture does consist of. I guess you got to bone a lot to just keep up with the millions of casualties every year, but I guess they're making it work.
Yeah,
like there should be a lot of orphans, right? Like if that many people are killed every year, I presume there are a lot of people, of course, but also like you're gonna have like aren't you eventually gonna run out of adults?
I don't know. I don't know how exactly they decide.
There might be just some maths I didn't quite grasp. Like maybe there's billions of people more than I think there might be on this planet. It might be huge.
Might be, but Kirk does. The only number I think we get is Kirk says that they were killing 3 million a year.
Yeah, which seems like a lot.
It does seem like a lot
on both planets. Yeah,
or maybe it's between the two planets. Yeah,
maybe the babies just grow up very fast. Maybe they're adults by 5.
Maybe.
At that rate, you could keep it up. I don't know.
I have no idea.
They are a different species, I presume.
Well, they might be human or human enough.
Yeah, that tends to be the case whenever they
seem to have all of
do
her
not
parts
want
intact.
Maybe some more even.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I mean, I feel like we would have seen him.
That's the fun of it.
In that toga she was wearing that had like there was
Fair
nothing
enough.
else.
Good outfit. Yep.
I no issue with it. No notes.
No notes. It was fun to have that motif return in all of the officers, all of the military personnel as well. Like everyone was wearing the sort of toga shawl thing, except hers was sexier, and the others just had one pant leg for weird reasons.
Well, like all that, I like to imagine that it was. It really is just by like choice, like all those guys are just like, you don't want to see us without a shirt on.
I feel a bit pudgy. I don't want to. Trust me. No, I'm not doing that.
Like
these days, we get the shirtless shit.
Like Babs knows she can get it, and we are just like gross, and we're like patchy. And
it's culture. It's their culture.
Yeah. I don't know why they're dressed the way they are. But you know what? It is really funny because like the one pant leg having collar and the other one being black, the way it was like looped and with the sash and combined with their helmets, they really do just look like color crayons.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair.
And I have to wonder if like they were like, what are we gonna do this week? And then, like, one of the designers, like, looked over and saw a color crayon and was just like, I think I may have something.
I could pitch something, you know. I'm just the intern, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, it must be an interesting thing just on the production side of this, where it's like, well, we got another script. What are these folks gonna look like?
Yeah. So, how do you feel about one? I want to know how you feel about the episode in general. Like, you liked this one?
Yeah. This was another one where it's like, yes, we're here for the solid concept, where I can just buy into what do you do with this kind of world, this kind of society that functions fundamentally differently. Why is that fucked up, basically?
Yeah.
And then what do you do about it? You know, that's for the plot to handle. But it's that sells me on an episode real fast.
Yeah. I am particularly fond of this episode. Mm-hmm. I really like a lot of the lines, like when they're explaining, and Spock says, there is a certain scientific logic about it, and he says, I'm glad you approve. And Spock says, I do not approve. I understand.
See? Exactly. Great stuff. And also, we mentioned, like, last episode that Scott being in command is fun as hell. Way more this time. Like, all the just lines he got were just, or improvised, I don't know, but, like, the Scotts of it all, delightful.
Yeah,
Delightful.
when he says, the best diplomat I know is a fully activated phaser bank. It's like, Jesus Christ, Scotty!
I'm not sure I agree with you here, but in this situation, yeah, the diplomat is a weirdo. Like,
That is an asshole.
let's take unnecessary risks. I would be dead right now if I listened to you. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it helps to have the dramatic irony of us knowing full well that if Scotty listens to him, they're all dead. But even not knowing that, it is a bit of a weak sauce argument. Maybe talk to them first.
Yeah.
But also just the haggis is in the fire for sure. Like, what is that?
That is something.
That's just a reason to get haggis in there. But like,
Yeah. So here, okay. To be fair to Scotty and McCoy at this point, they faked a message from Captain Kirk, and they've been firing at them.
I would not be okay with anything. No.
They're not.
Their decision is much more rational. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't discussed, or not discussed. They haven't given the Archons. God, no, we didn't just record that episode.
That was last week.
So the people on this planet have given no reason for the Enterprise to trust them at all.
Nope.
And this
Quite the
diplomat
opposite. Like,
is just up his own butt, honestly.
exactly. So it is, like, I am very much on the pacifist side, but that does not mean lower your shields. That means do not bomb the planet to death.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
So,
No one says you have to get killed just because of your ideals. Like, no.
Yeah.
The ideals are, I'm not going to kill everyone on sight, but I don't have to get shot at because I'm a peaceful person. Like, fuck off.
And I do love that their eventual solution was just to move the ship slightly too far away for them to do it, for them to hit them. They're like, oh no,
whoopsie.
The Enterprise is just lingering there, waiting to kill your entire world. What do you want to do? Like, I love Kirk in this episode, like, so much.
Yeah, he is very, like, in this situation, he plays perfectly because he is very self-assured, very much convinced of his own righteousness, and he's completely in the right, so it's fine. I can go with him a whole lot more because he is fighting against an atrocious regime that is just having people willingly walk into a disintegration chamber. Like, I'm not good with this place at all, so I am fine with Kirk, lashing out against it.
And I loved how he largely kept his cool with Anon 7 when Anon 7 was like, are those 500 people of yours more important than the hundreds of millions of innocent people on Eminar and Vedekar? What kind of monster are you? And Kirk just smiling says, I'm a barbarian. You said so yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, that's so good.
He is just, he he is ironically playing the, like, getting under his skin and playing that more of the psychological game than he is actually using violence. Because he's using very limited targeted strikes to dismantle the system, but not necessarily, you know, he's not killing people by the thousands like the other guys are. So if anything, it's fine. Like, they're doing good.
Yeah, and I'm just, I just really loved, like, so many of Kirk's lines that I didn't even get down. There's one where he's talking to Anon 7 about how he was going to take the place down. He's like, you're gonna take down this whole world, you and a couple of disruptors. And he's just like, yep, like, that's my plan. I'm just what I'm doing.
Yeah, sure. Watch me do it, honey.
And even when, like, he tells Anon 7 and he did it so well, I feel weird about, like, it's so seldom I get to, like, gush about Shatner's performance.
Oh, yeah.
In a really positive way.
It's not often. Yeah.
But, like, he tells Anon 7,
go for it.
I didn't start it, Councilman, but I'm liable to finish it. Like, yes! Yeah, you
just
are.
A good line. And it is telling to an extent that this is one of those episodes where I'm like, yeah, you could nitpick some of the slightly clunky where it is like, oh, an entrance but not an exit. Yeah, I know, it's the disintegration chamber. Like, I just saw them move in and not get back out, and then it's empty. Like, visual storytelling, I get it.
Yeah.
But that's, of its time. And if that's the nitpick, like, fine. We're dealing with a good episode, It's, if that's the big complaint, and it's not that big, I'm good. I enjoyed this, yeah.
I loved Kirk's speech at the end. We can admit that we're killers, but we're not going to kill today. That's all it takes. And I love that his point is that they made death too clean. They made war too clean.
Yeah.
If it was as bad as it should be,
if it's just ritualized, there's no blood, there's just, oh, I guess it's over for me. Today is my last day. Like, that's weird. That's just, it is fucked up, and it is very good to, like, remind people, like, oh no, there should be a deterrent for having war, because it's supposed to be gruesome and awful. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't be able to just look away from it and pretend it's a video game, essentially. Mm-hmm. And we're dealing with a lot of war in the world right now, so it's a good thing that horrific images are out there for the people who are trying to pretend that it's not horrific.
Yeah. And by the way, this was very much a story about Vietnam. I mean, we're talking about, like, according to David Gerald, the computer tallies of the dead, the casualties of the war, was a statement about Vietnam War deaths that began to be registered on nightly newscasts in 1967. So, like, this is, like, very much...
The total has grown up to... Yeah.
Very much, in the public consciousness. But also a thing that Star Trek was, like, the movie studios, or not movie, television studios were very, very against talking about. Like, they wanted to push other things. They wanted shows, and they wanted to sell candy and refrigerators and shit. And we're not going to talk about Vietnam. And it was just one of those...
No. We're just gonna, that's for the news to report on and keep it businesslike.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. And there is something about, like...
And that's why this genre is great, because you can just throw out an analogy and still have people thinking about what is going on in the world right now. Oh, wait, we're waging war against, some guerrilla warfare shit while we're just trying to flatten the fucking place. And Vietnam is, of course, very interesting in many, many ways because of the media and because of the backlash and because of the, it turning out not so good for y'all for once. So that's always just a good thing to deal with. And this is from the era, which makes it far more interesting in and of itself.
I like this. One of the things I like about this episode is that, much like we had, young men going into the service, believing absolutely, and Americans believing absolutely that we're right. We are the police force of the world. This is our war to fight, and this is a police action.
Absolutely not ideological supremacy that we're just taking out a communist country.
Right.
No.
But these people are also like just freely throwing themselves in the line of fire. They're giving their lives for this idea.
This is how we do it, and I suppose that's just the cost of war. And
this
today
is the
it's
greater
me
good.
and,
Much like these people who are lining up for these disintegration booths.
Yeah.
And, Barbara Babcock, I can't remember her name. Her
It's
fake
fine.
name.
I'm sure she had a name, the blonde one.
Yeah. Well, I know her real name.
Yeah, no. But the blonde is probably what it was in the script.
Very patriotic about it. She's like, this is our way. This is how we keep the peace. Like, I don't want to lose my life.
You're not keeping peace, though, but yeah.
Yeah. This is very interesting. I love this.
Absolutely. And it is still very relevant, just purely if you think about drone warfare these days. It is very much like we're getting to the point where we are creating this entire distance between the horrific shit we're doing and the comfort of our own homes. We're that is a gap we no longer need to bridge, and there's so much news you can barely follow it all, so you don't really have to be confronted with it anyway, which in my case I appreciate, because I get hella depressed if I follow too much news. But it's at the same time, that's a privilege, and that's not exactly what the people on the other end of the drones are dealing with. So it is still something that rings true, where it is like, yeah, we're getting to the point of making this a little too clean for ourselves, if not on the other end. That's the part that makes this more sci-fi, I guess. But we do really prefer not being as messy as standing in front of someone and seeing them bleed out.
Yeah.
As war used to be fought.
And they've made it comfortable, and once it's comfortable, it's not going to change, because that's the way people are.
Because it's just regular. This is the stuff we deal with. That's just life. I don't know how to overthrow a system, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll just settle into society and deal with it. And that's horrific, yeah. But it makes it a very compelling dystopia.
Yeah, it's interesting. Spock at the end tells Kirk he took a big risk. Kirk says they've been killing 3 million people a year. It had been going on for 500 years. An actual attack wouldn't have killed any more people than one of their computer attacks, but it would have ended their ability to make war. The fighting would have been over permanently. And Spock says, Captain, you almost make me believe in luck. And Kirk says, why, Mr. Spock, you almost make me believe in miracles.
Delightful. Just great ending.
Wonderful ending.
Absolutely.
And
just well written. Makes perfect sense for the characters.
My wife pointed out, after that line, immediately after, she held her stomach and started, going, ha, 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 making fun of previous episodes. Where they say something to Spock, and then they all, belly laugh for way too long.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. Oh, my God. No, this is the way you handle that. It's just a remark, but it's not a snide. It's not talking down to Spock. It's just poking fun between friends, and he can take that perfectly well, instead of standing there looking confused and being like, why is this so funny to everyone? I do not have the emotion of laughter. It's a weird different take that was, and this works so much better.
So I do disagree with Kirk, though. If they had been hit with a nuclear thing, that would have
wiped out the planet, yeah. So
future generations, we're talking about birth defects and radiation poisoning and blocking out the sun, and there would have been way more issues. But
yeah. I'm not sure they knew about the long-term effects of nuclear shit yet. I'm sure they were trying to ignore that as well in the 60s.
Maybe. But you know what? What I do like about it, though, is it seems like it was one of, Star Trek is often said to be a hopeful utopia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's funny that Kirk in that vein, he assumed the best of people. Like, no, when you're actually faced with this, you're going to work it out.
Yeah, you're just gonna fucking find another way because you don't want that. And if you don't want that, the other planet doesn't want that. And that's sound logic.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like there is, of course, there is in our real world still the unfortunately real fear of nuclear annihilation purely because the standoff is tense and doesn't get less tense depending on some elections this year. So it's never going to be quite comfortable. But at the same time, you do have to sort of rest assured that nobody really wants the entire planet to get fucked because it will very quickly fuck everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm just in the middle of it, so I'm not okay with either side doing anything shitty.
Of course not.
But that's yeah. Like you'd have a quick death, we'd have nuclear winter. That's beside the point. Yeah. Sorry. That was sometimes you need to lighten the mood. But yeah, it is a fair wager to make where it is like, yeah, if this had continued for another 500 years, yeah, you would have a similar death toll as just one civilization in one go. But yeah, it is a gamble to an extent. But it's nice of them to address that, where it's like, because that is the core, I think. It is not even so much Star Trek as a utopia, but Kirk as the figure who continues to rise up against dystopias on account of this is what humanity is supposed to be. This is what we strive towards. This is the ideal of the Starfleet, of what we want to bring into the wider universe from Earth.
Which is largely like American...
Yeah, of course, because it's Star Trek and it's made in Hollywood. Yeah. It's we're bringing democracy to countries who would never be able to think of it themselves. But outside of there's some flaws with that. Absolutely, it is a typical tale, of course, that has ideological interests. But as long as you're aware of those, it's also interesting just to see, okay, what do these American ideals entail? What do these sci-fi writers think makes us human? That's what the genre is for. and yeah, you can just still get something out of that, and that's impressive in and of itself.
Sure, it is. But yeah, that's why I can't remember if it was Family Guy or what it was, but I feel like this episode and the previous episode especially are two of the ones that get this idea of Kirk. There was I think it was a Family Guy sketch where he just is talking about peaceful utopia or something, and then he just starts screaming, "Your God is a lie!" and just shooting things. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. My way or the highway is kind of in there. It is very much that imperialist
to crumble your entire society.
Force. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in some cases, it is warranted, and then I can enjoy the episode.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is a fucked up world, and I would not want to live there. Let's change it.
Yeah.
Let's hope they figure it out. And it's a series, so they do, because we're not actually dealing with the real diplomatic impact of these warring factions that you want to sit down around a negotiating table and have shit worked out. Yeah. Which is way easier said than done, as we know from real life. But then again,
sure.
It's not exactly a fair fight going on in the Middle East right now. So,
yeah. So here's something kind of cool. Scotty's refusal to lower the shields against orders is based on an actual story from James Doohan, who played Scotty. It was an actual story from his military service. As a lieutenant in the Royal Canadian Artillery, he was threatened with court-martial for real for saying, "No, sir, I will not," to a visiting colonel when he realized a training exercise order would entail blowing the heads off of some of his own men. Fortunately, his immediate superiors backed him up, and like his fictional character, he was eventually promoted to captain.
Ooh. And also, Scotty gets promoted to captain? Yeah, that's good to know.
We're talking about movies here, like when they're all like 70 years old and they're like,
right,
Captain
way
Scott.
down the line.
Yeah, they're like, hello, Captain
good
Scott.
on you. Yeah.
Hey, I'm a captain now, but I'm not like the captain of a ship. I still just lay in the belly of it and stroke its engines, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm best at. Great stuff. Also, Scotty is a Royal Canadian. Like, what?
Oh, James Doohan? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not his real accent.
Didn't know that.
That's not his real accent.
No, I mean, it's a bit over the top, but I didn't know where he was from.
Yeah,
Never looked into it. Come on, I'm not spoiling myself on anything.
I'm
just now finding out that's not a Scotsman.
I've heard James Doohan was at Normandy and lost his finger. I've seen pictures. Like, he doesn't have a finger.
Dang. Oh, he hides that well.
Yeah, he's always hiding his hand with the lost finger.
No, but that makes sense. And I've seen like I remember there was a teacher in high school who also had one finger missing, and you really wouldn't notice because he's usually just fumbling around with his other hand, and like he was also very good at just camouflaging it to an extent where those people tend to get very good at getting your attention elsewhere, and especially if you're on camera, you just know that's either it becomes part of the story or you don't show it, and that's fine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool
This episode includes the first use of the full name, United Federation of Planets.
Ah. Yeah, I heard that, and I was like, have we heard that before? But good to know that that's the one that's going to stick.
Yeah. So this is a weird bit of continuity. At one point, Scott states that he cannot fire full phasers with the shields up, but that he could treat the Aminians to a few dozen photon torpedoes. These restrictions and capabilities are mentioned in no other episodes.
How many instances are there where he is able to use, both having the shields up and the phaser? What was the first thing? Phaser banks?
The full phasers with the shields up. Yeah, absolutely, you can shoot through the phasers. You just match the phasers to the shield frequency, and you can get through it and take out the other person. That's how you fight.
That's how physics works.
You can't drop shields to fire. I mean, you're gonna get hit.
No, that would seem very, very impractical indeed. So
yeah,
but it's it helped with the tension here, I guess.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't have maybe their regulator was out or something. The phasers couldn't match the frequency of their shields or something. I don't know.
We can headcanon that shit.
But we can headcanon it, but there is at least a couple instances in Star Trek where someone figures out the shield frequency and is able to shoot torpedoes through it and penetrate someone else's shields. So
yeah.
What did you think of Spock telepathically controlling the dude through the wall?
Yeah, that was new. That seems overpowered as hell. That should be used in far more occasions from now on, I guess.
Yeah, it will be used.
But then again, we also sometimes just see him hit someone in the neck instead of pinching them, which at least once I think, I don't remember which episode, where Kirk is like, isn't that a little barbaric of you? Like, something to that extent.
Yeah, I think it was this one.
Was it this one? Yeah, good. Okay. Because it is funny to me when it's like, you have a literal superpower that you continue to forget to use. Why are you punching anyone? Grab them by the neck. Just pinch their shoulder, man. Come on.
Well, I believe this one is it made me proud because like in this episode he tells, as Spock is about to shoot the disintegrator machine, the guy's like, "Oh, what are you up to? What are you about to do, Spock?" And he's like, "I'm about to practice I can't remember what
peculiar variety,
a peculiar variety of diplomacy."
Yeah.
And my wife goes,
"Good line."
My wife goes, "Cowboy?" And that's a reference to Next Generation, an episode where Spock shows up. Spock shows up, and there is reference to how he and Kirk dealt with things in the original series as cowboy diplomacy. It's a lot of fun.
That makes sense. That is. I love just that's a way to reflect back on previous shows where it's like, yeah, we might have. Times have changed. Might have done that differently now.
Yeah. So the fantastic line to look at that and then be able to think of the next gen thing where they're talking about cowboy diplomacy.
Oh, delightful. Yeah. I can understand that. I'll forget before I see the episode, but I'm looking forward to it.
But your delight at it currently makes it worth the spoiler for now, at least.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. I agree.
So
I enjoy being delighted.
I wonder if this is the last time Spock refers to himself as Vulcanian.
I hope so, because it was weird.
Yeah, he's done it a couple times. Court martial and
oh, really? Okay. Yeah, but
Mud's women, I think.
Perhaps. This was the time where I noticed and was slightly bothered. Where it's like, is that a thing we're using now? Because that's not the term, is it?
I mean, it has been, yeah.
Like you're Vulcans, not Vulcanians. It's weird.
Yeah, it eventually just goes over to Vulcans, and Vulcanians aren't really mentioned again. But yeah, it was a thing in the few times that they've.
Where it's like, no, we're Vulcans, but Vulcanian instead of Vulcan, which works as an adjective. Writers, weirdos. Guessing not everyone got the memo. Consistency wasn't a thing yet. There wasn't a universe and a franchise to keep track of where everyone got the same terminology sheet.
There was to some degree, but there were other things that didn't really. I don't know. So certain things fell through the cracks. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it happens. He might have just misspoke on the day. Who knows? The writers might have taken that seriously, and he didn't. That's also very possible.
Yeah,
it always depends.
There was also a thing where Nimoy was very concerned with keeping track of stuff about his characters, so he would just be like, "Oh, we called it this in this episode, so we should go ahead and do that again if we're going there." Like,
good on you for keeping us straight. Must have been very annoying for everyone, but
probably.
I love an actor like that.
Well, I mean, he had to do something for God's sake,
yeah.
And I think I've never read this to my knowledge, but I have read that Shatner was notorious for being I'm the lead, I'm the captain, I should say that. I shouldn't have to not know what that is. I should know what all the things are. And
oh my God, learn to delegate. Yeah, okay.
So he
sometimes that is weird when it's oh, you should really realize that you're the boss. But usually that's not an issue. Usually someone else needs a line, God damn it.
Yeah. And he never thought about it until apparently an interview with Nichelle Nichols where she was like, "Oh yeah, you didn't ask me why everybody hates you." What? And she's like, "Yeah, we all hate you." You
didn't realize that? We do.
And explained that hey, while you were out here demanding that you have more lines, you were taking lines from us.
Yeah, and that's how that works.
We were trying to get money and recognition.
Be paid.
Live. Paid, yeah. So
survive.
Yeah, there was that. But I wondered if Nimoy didn't specifically try to make his character a little more alien and bring up stuff very specific so that Shatner couldn't just be that should be me. And they're like, okay, cool. You're gonna
Are you Vulcan now?
Can you control somebody's mind through a wall?
No? Good.
No.
Yeah, cool. That's clever. That would make sense.
So I get to keep a few lines. Yeah. I wonder how much that
it's alien privilege. It's how he just sticks his head up. Okay. The other actress couldn't do that.
Do you think there'll be any time in your life where you walk up to someone and say, "Sir, there is a multi-legged creature crawling on your shoulder"?
I think the situation would have to be such that it calls for a distraction, but also be low risk enough that he doesn't immediately shoot me while I'm saying that because I am actually, an escaped prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the ideal situation in which I would utter those words.
All right. Well, I mean, I didn't have to be someone who was holding you captive. I was just saying, like, and do you think you'll ever be walking up to anybody and go,
I mean, it would also have to be in a context where it wouldn't just be a spider that I recognize as a spider, but truly a creature that is multi-legged, I guess. But what it is, I can't exactly tell, but you should probably get it off your shoulder. In that context, sure.
Yeah, all right.
And if it is a sir, and I know it is a sir, and I'm not just assuming their gender, that would also be a prerequisite. Yeah.
Okay.
In those very specific circumstances, I might. I'm not sure they'll happen.
All right. Well, was there anything else you wanted to say about this episode? What you got?
What do I got? Absolutely nothing. What do you think? That I prepare? Jeez. I think we've been over most of this, right? It was just good. It was fun as hell. We are positive. Strong concept, strong execution. Good episode. Hell yeah.
It's a nice bit of mental gymnastics to sit there and try to figure out how to like make yourself believe it would be okay to play a video game and have mass numbers of people kill themselves because of, well, those are the rules of war.
Being bad at the video game, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play Super Meat Boy if every time I died there was just someone actually walking into a room and never coming out again. So,
Yeah.
Getting chainsawed to bits. But yeah, no, it was just neat. And I guess if anything, the woman didn't have a lot to do. But I was also glad there wasn't a forced romance in there. So, you win some, you lose some. So I'm fine with this. Good shit.
Yeah.
Who wrote this?
Gene L.
Robert
Kuhn.
Hamner and Gene L. Kuhn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, and this is Gene L. Kuhn. This is the person I was saying, like, dude, he's the Bill Finger. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
More United Federation of Planets. We get more like world building, like cementing the.
There's a hierarchy.
The
a diplomat comes in. There's clearly other shit they're actually doing as a Starfleet, other than running into some place and being like, "Well, what's up here?" So yeah, good shit.
By the way, yes, we're dealing with this episode, and Kirk destroyed an entire society to teach it a lesson, basically. But
I mean, he didn't destroy the society. It didn't they just had to adjust.
But
they could have died.
But I think it's interesting. Once again, remember Gene L. Kuhn wrote Arena,
right?
And one of the big twists of that episode is like the Gorns didn't attack unprovoked. They felt like we were impeding on their space. So the Federation is imperialists. They're imperialists. Yep. That's a Gene L. Kuhn thing. What happens here? These people tell Kirk, don't come here. And that ambassador says, no.
Fuck you. We want a treaty. Yeah.
F your couch. Yeah. We're going to do this thing. And
I don't care if you warn me. Like, no.
And Kirk says, this is their planet. We shouldn't go. And he's like, you have your orders, Kirk. I have a whole bunch of orders given to me, and now I'm giving some to you because I'm keeping them stored in my eye bags. And every time he bobs his head, they flap. And I'm like, why?
It makes him an imposing figure. We are very intimidated.
Yeah. And there's definitely like a sense of the Federation is just willing to go in and
take over, I guess.
Take over a thing. Yeah, take over society.
Yeah,
stop
Prime
a planet
Directive
from doing
my
things.
ass is very consistent.
And
because there is a constant of moral superiority. There's always we know how to do a society right.
Yeah.
And granted, some of these societies are fucked up, but it is interesting to keep in mind indeed that there is a nuance there, and I think he walks that line nicely as a writer. And at the same, what else did I want to say about him? Or about Arena that was also just, it starts off with bombing, with like war is messy, with that felt tense and like a scene out of, I don't know, some World War I shit where you're in the trench and you hate your life.
Until Gal Gadot walks past you.
Yeah, that's the one movie where it's slightly less gruesome, I suppose, but more 1917 vibes. Yeah,
yeah, that's the only reality where people are jerking off in the foxhole while being bombarded because they're watching Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, she got up that ladder, so you know some people snuck a peep, like they got a glimpse.
Yeah, probably. I mean, a bunch of derelicts.
It's a bunch of, barely 20-year-olds in the cold, no.
Actually, the cold might be a really solid argument that they're not.
I mean, they might try, and then it freezes off.
Yeah, well,
I feel like that's a happy ending.
I feel like the cold, they're just going to shrivel up and go up inside like a little turtle. Like, no, the cold.
I mean, sure, shrinkage, but shrinkage and an erection at the same time. Is that feasible? I feel like the blood would just keep going.
I think the blood is like, I've never been able to get an erection when
I've never tried to jerk off in the cold outside. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
But I presume I'd be able to generate enough body heat, unless it's like 40 below freezing.
I mean, maybe if he jogged in place for a while. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this. This is weird.
Why are we still on trench warfare? Yeah, no, we are evolved beyond that. We just, give people 48 hours notice, they can jerk off, and then move into a disintegration chamber. It's far more ethical.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I mean, it wouldn't be an episode of this show if we somehow didn't land on this type of topic.
Yeah.
So I feel like this one just had it all. We were enthusiastic. We had a good Star Trek episode. We had some laughs about dicks. We did it all. Kind of. I mean, yeah, I'm sure. We also imagined, it shriveling up and falling off, but that's par for the course, really.
Yeah. I don't think my wife was happy with an episode. She's been catching up, and I'm not sure she was happy with my mention of planking on a dick. Or no, planking on a clit, I think it was, actually.
I am not entirely sure what that was or in which context, but I'm glad you brought it up again so she can be reminded.
I know. I don't remember what the context was either.
Me neither. I don't know how to picture this entirely.
But when she was like, I heard her go, oh, I was like, what? She told me what I said, She told me what I said, and I said, my first reaction was, did Effie laugh? And she said no, and I was like, oh.
Oh, shit. Fair. Yeah.
And then I said, oh, well, I just did when you mentioned it, so that's okay.
Yeah, you got to save yourself somehow. That's fair.
I don't need to save myself.
I don't remember this context. I mean, both can be true. Like save yourself from the shame in the current life and still go to hell.
I don't know. Something about balance beaming on a dick or something. I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but planking on a clit, I don't know.
And then I think maybe you were like, well,
like planking on a dick is a funny image because you would have like the sort of handstand on the dick, and then the plank elevated above the level of the floor. Like that seems funny, but I don't know how we would get onto that topic. I mean, I'll have a re-listen as well. I need to catch up too.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll report next time.
I think that's it.
I'm pretty sure we've talked about the Trek and are now just rambling about other stuff.
I do want to know why some of those people didn't have crayon heads. Some of them had shark fins, and that was weird.
I mean, there's got to be different classes of people, right?
I guess so.
Got to differentiate them somehow.
It's like we're the
Maybe
flat
there were
tops,
two
we're the
interns
fin
who
heads.
both pitched an idea, and one of them had shark fins, and the other
Yeah.
had a crayon lying around.
Yeah, I don't know. And then like none of the council had them. They were just like, we
They're
comb our
just
hair.
we don't need hats. We are actors with a face. Yeah, we're not extras.
Like,
Fuck off.
We're in charge, and I would say I think wearing a mandatory hat would be a little much. So
Yeah, that's for
since-
underlings.
Yeah, so you can wear a hat. Do we have to wear a hat? Yes. Yes. You must wear.
You
the hats.
should.
You just said it was
Wear
going to
the
be really uncomfortable and awful. Yes.
Yeah, for me.
All underlings should have hats. Very uncomfortable.
You need to feel slightly awkward about this.
Tall hats that make you have to bend down just a little to get through a door.
Yes.
That's like 90% of leadership deciding, who's going to be inconvenienced by your hats.
Basically, it's pretty much extras aren't being paid enough. Not in this show.
Yeah. It's like, well, we don't want to wear hats, but you have to. Why do any of us have to? Because my good friend's a haberdasher. When
Maybe
you were making the
it
finest
is
of
just
hats.
maybe it's pure jealousy of the younger military guys still having a good head of hair.
No, maybe. But I think all the old dudes who were,
They had hair, but
they had good
still.
hair.
Yeah,
They're like,
I don't know.
dude,
But we haven't seen the hair underneath the hats. Maybe
8 on
that was so
7.
much more glorious. Just
8 on 7
ultimately
has some
fabulous.
dope hair.
Sure, but like, imagine what could have been hiding under those hats.
Yeah? I mean, Barbara Babcock's hair was like dope as shit. It was on point. It was
Fair.
coiffed.
Yeah. No, that's true. I'm glad she didn't wear a hat.
Me too. She was a queen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying, yas, queen. Yas.
Slay.
Slay.
Yas. Should we call it?
Oh, why are we so weird?
Why are we like this? Write in at Star Trek Universe.
Yeah, let us know how much you hate the show. It made me feel good. And wonder what I'm doing in my life.
Maybe
ooh.
frame it, formulate it slightly nicely.
Yeah.
Just to spare our feelings.
Guess what, Effie?
Yeah.
The next episode we have is Space Seed. You finally get to meet Khan.
Ooh.
As in the Wrath
Intriguing.
of.
Yeah, I've heard of that name.
Yeah. You finally get to meet Ricardo Montalban as the villainous Khan.
It's not Cumberbatch in the 60s? I am
It's
out.
not.
Oh, fair enough.
There are other issues, but...
We'll get to those. Next time.
Like a Hispanic dude playing a Sikh Indian who doesn't have a beard.
Right. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, we'll see what I think.
So that's what we're talking about next time, guys. Watch Space Seed, and we'll talk about that. Joel on True, live long and prosper.
And also, eat a dick. Eat a dick, people.
Eat a dick, plank on a clit. I think that's what we've learned.
I think that is truly all we have learned over the course of this
And
podcast.
once again, even though I told you how it made me feel when I said plank on a clit this time, you did not laugh.
Fuck, I forgot. I am so
Yeah,
sorry.
you're
But you
supposed
didn't
to
like
laugh.
the conviction was missing. You didn't
Yeah.
really sell me on it. You just sort of softly added it to the end of the thing.
I know.
And I'm sorry.
I was taught in
I
sex
disappointed
ed.
you.
I was taught in sex ed that that's how you're supposed to do it. Just quietly add it to the end of the thing.
Just go out with a whimper and leave.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Sounds like Alabama and sex ed.
No, I didn't have sex education.
Fair enough.
I was homeschooled.
It seemed like it was a joke.
Well,
On
after-
sex ed, or because that feels like abusive shit.
No.
Because it's Alabama. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I just have to check in with my friend over here.
You know what? No, I didn't really. No.
The existence was just not discussed.
Well, no, it was, but it was early on, and my mother was like, "Okay, here's how it do," and explained the things, and I went, "Oh, okay," and
Sure.
yeah, and then like that was actually well before I was homeschooled, and then when I was homeschooled, I don't think we ever brought it up because it was just like, okay, we've got
Makes
our
sense.
science, we've got our things, and we don't need
Yeah.
to talk about that.
We're not diving into that part of biology today.
Right. Well, I mean, we'd already been
Figure
told,
it out
so
later.
We'd already
Yeah.
been told, and
Yeah, you know enough. It's fine.
yeah, it's fine. I'm 40. I have no children, no STDs. I figured it out.
Seems like the sex ed worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Is that the point of sex ed? I'm not sure.
They were very quick to be like, "Oh man, you don't want to do anything with anybody these days. You're gonna get something or get somebody pregnant." Like, and I was like, "Fair enough. That sounds terrifying." And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
May have
just turned
contributed
into,
to
I am
trauma.
scared as shit of all of this, and fuck no. So
yeah, it legitimately may
Yeah.
have contributed to
it
some drama.
might have
some trauma.
something to do. Yeah.
But either way, I don't got the drippy dong,
Good for you. Good for you.
and I don't got the thing that's eating all my food and crying
That's all kids do, right?
and going
Yeah,
to college.
probably. Those three things.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Roberson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.